You keep moving from one video after the next, telling you that this is a sign that you need to quit your 9-to-5 job. In fact, you watch one video saying that this is God telling you, the next one is you're greater than 9-to-5, and it becomes something that you romanticize, start believing, and thinking that all of the videos that you see, it's a sign that you're better than your 9-to-5 job. Of course you are probably better, but one thing that you forget is not everybody has got the potential to go solo and leave the 9-to-5. And you might say that that's rich coming from me. Well, if you watched my first video where I poured my heart out, it was quite the contrary. I was actually praising and idolizing this job or this 9-to-5 culture that gave me what I materially acquired. And I can say that it brought me the status I believe that was important at the time. It gave me a home. I built an okay and a successful career for 17 years as an immigrant, as a woman in the tech field. So far from me demonizing 9-to-5 as some people have insinuated, what I was saying is when the time is right, you will know that it's right, not by watching motivational videos or people's personal experiences. It could give you a hint to start thinking about perhaps going solo, but it's not in any way to say you cannot make it thrive and prosper in a 9-to-5 environment, and I am testimony to that. But what I want to say as well is all your dreams are valid. Honestly, looking at you guys now, although I felt lost and stuck and with no direction, like a failure, all the kind of negative words I used because I was in a very down place. But one thing that I also know is I had a lot of plans. Most of us have business ideas. In fact, you might not even guess the day of the year, but on a particular day, every year for the past 8 years, I'll come up and say, it's time. I have this brilliant idea and I think it's time to kick the 9-to-5 straight on its face and move on. And bless my family, they'll have to listen to me, from wanting to open a company that makes shoes back home, from wanting to manufacture hair. In fact, this particular business idea that I had once was less capital intensive and it demanded more of an intellectual input. So I just thought that as opposed to using capital, let me use my brains, let me use what I already know. And trust me, that year I went further from telling my family, my husband, my direct family, and I started making calls. I called my parents back home in Africa and I said, this idea, guys, is brilliant. And I always thought about ideas to take back home because I'm quite patriotic. I'm a Pan-Africanist, because in my past procurement job, I had come in contact with a lot of top manufacturing executives in big companies, big names, because I was buying more of engineering products, the likes of pneumatics, hydraulics, a lot of things like tools, just engineering buying for plants. So I'll come in contact with people who are who make filters and conveyor belts. And I began thinking, and they'll say, oh, I'm going to so and so country in Africa because they're building a hospital and I'm providing all of the filters in the theaters. And I'm thinking, why can't I go back home and open a consultancy and work with the government perhaps on the best companies to choose? What about partnering with these companies and going home? I had this brilliant idea. I'm thinking they're doing airports. We are in Africa. We are at a place where Europe was years ago. There's loads of development happening, and I'll go. And that for me sounded like the best business idea. And God knows why I didn't take it. But if you're watching and you think it, go for it. But one thing I want to say is there are a lot of people talking about leaving the 9-to-5, quitting the 9-to-5, and I did not realize that there was a whole world of that. I was just sharing my experience of quite the contrary, how I did not know where I could go from here. Little did I know that, of course, there's a world out of 9 to 5, but I'm going to share today the things that I did got me to prosper, because I know that not everybody watching this video is able to quit the 9 to 5. And the reason why my thoughts were always on the 1st of Jan is because, you know, January, you've been off during Christmas, you've had a nice break with family, you've maybe been drinking too much, people have become sloppy, said how much they love each other, how we don't see enough, and how this stupid 9 to 5 has ruined our relationships. And the reason why I could very quickly get back into reality by like the 7th of the month, when I look at my paycheck, my bank account, I'm struggling with the last 10%, because it's that circle, isn't it? The money has come in and it's gone right out, and you're waiting for the next paycheck, and that's when you you get into that matrix, and it becomes like a conveyor belt. You just go round and round and round until you realize this, that you just don't wake up one day with sleepy eyes and walk out. Because trust me, if you're in this part of the world, you can do that if you're in your 20s. So this video really is for people who already have a family, maybe felt like me at 40, in the 30s perhaps, or even the 50s, and have not really planned on their exit strategy. So you still have a few years in the 9 to 5. So please, by all means, romanticize about this, but let's do this with some sort of responsible manner if you have kids to feed, because I've been on the two sides. I have quit my job twice to pursue something. My other half has done the same. I have seen myself on both ends of the spectrum, and I can say that there's a framework, there's something that has worked for me. So I'll share today some things that you should do before you actually think 9 to 5 is not for me. So if you want to see the tips and how to just get on with your 9 to 5 till such a time that you are ready, not by watching a video telling you to quit, when you are ready, I'll share some of these valuable 9 to 5 tips that I've learned from managing people and being managed, on what will make you thrive, succeed, and not get stuck and lose your identity in a 9 to 5 world. The first thing I'll say is, please disentangle yourself from your job. Have you met somebody who cannot introduce themselves without attributing it to their jobs? For example, you might ask me, who are you? I'd say, I'm Lulu. I'm a 40-year-old woman, mom who is passionate about helping people, who is passionate about life, who loves to exercise, who loves to eat healthy, and I'm just searching for my purpose. I have not used my job. There are others who, when you ask them, who are you? Oh, I'm John. I'm a senior lecturer at this university. I also do distance learning, and I'm a businessman for 10 years. That's not John. That's John's job. John has lost his identity in his 95 life, and a lot of us do that because we are so stuck in our jobs that it takes over us completely, and we forget that we are individuals and we need to keep that individual aspect. We need to have different aspects to ourselves, different facets. Have the John the career man, John the doting dad, John the wonderful husband, John the caring son, John the fitness enthusiast, John the salsa dancer. You need to have different aspects so that you can cut off and not get lost and lose your identity. Once you start thinking that way, all the other points I'm going to share will kind of just naturally fall into place. And the next thing that I want to say is, I know that it's hard, but you need to start thinking about your quality of life. And your quality of life is determined a lot by what you do for a living. That's what increases your stress levels, your cortisol levels daily. It's even make people unwell. So if you can take a step back and remember that a job is going to pay your bills, is going to keep you going, try to think, if you're younger now, of a field that you love. I've been in hospital a lot during the summer, and I'm not ready to share this now, but maybe in due course I'll share what has happened to me as a family, and maybe I'll share to a select few people because it's quite personal, and I'm thinking to start a membership perhaps, so I can share that I'll talk about that later. But I'm talking about this because I've had about 3 months plus in hospital watching the corridors, and I'm very observant, and I have seen jobs that I did not know existed. A good example is, did you know that in hospitals where there are kids, there are play specialists? Being an African, when I said, so they're paying you to play. They're paying you to play with children. And that is a job. And the girls who are devoted. I met a lady and she said, oh yeah, she has 3 kids of her own. And she's been doing this for 13 years. And it's the best job satisfaction to see a poorly child come into the hospital and maybe difficult. They find it hard to find the veins. And they give them a toy and they play with them. And I just sat there watching. And it was beautiful. And that is a job. A lot of them love doing it, and they'll do it till they retire. There are others who just take people to the theater, for example, just wheel them and talk them before they're put to sleep. There's so many jobs. Again, still in this environment, I saw a lady painting. She was left. I'm so intrigued by people who are left-handed. She was painting. Somebody gave her a cake in the hospital to thank her. She was painting the window because it's getting Christmassy. And she did that. I watched her in silence in about 15 minutes. She painted the whole window. She had done something and pasted it behind. And I went to her, I said, what do you do? She said, oh, I'm an artist. And it was just, that's all she does, from one hospital to the next. And she loves her job. Does she earn 6 figures? No. Does she want to earn 6 figures? No. What do you think is her quality of life? I can only guess that is better than mine and all of us who earn a lot more. So there are different fields you can think about. And there are certain jobs that you go out of passion and love, like teaching. The pay is not a lot, but what they do is it's a labor of love. Even nurses, midwives, there are a lot of fields if we just think out of the box. And the other thing that I'll talk about, which is really important, is before you decide that you don't want to do 9 to 5, think about what your unique selling point is. We all have a unique selling point. Honestly, when I used to see people talk about this, I'll say, oh God, I'm so dry. I have nothing unique about me. I have no talent. And people will say, you like to talk and tell a story. Because to be honest, I've always been that person who, when there is a story and I sit down, everybody gathers around me and they're listening. But I never thought that was a talent. I have done a few things in the past before now. I used to act. That's a very random fact. A lot of these Nollywood actors that we know of today, back before I even traveled at 18, 19, I was kind of, I would say scouted, or I auditioned and I acted a few movies back home before the industry became big. And I just quietly moved back into mainstream. And because I was at uni, I had an additional year and I decided to do networking, Cisco, at the same time that I was acting. So I've always had something different, not mainstream. And perhaps if I did not follow what our ancestors, our fathers, our forefathers have always said about getting yourself a job, 9 to 5, I might have been there. So if you're in a job, think about what your unique selling point. Some people are very good at writing. You can do that by the side. But think about the one thing that you will do every day and start working around what income or what intellect or what knowledge or what training you need to do that job and earn money. And if you can start saving from your 9 to 5 towards what you will need to turn your passive income into your main income, that is a way that you can keep thriving, you keep keeping your bills. But what will you do? You'll save more, because you know that this is not a situation where every month you spend everything with luxurious lifestyles, with buying the newest cars, with competing designer gear, but you have a purpose. That's when you know that you found a purpose, and you'll be planning or saving towards making this dream a reality, because making your passive income become your main income is the part where you've had peace. And honestly, I have experienced a lot of this, and I was so close to doing that. I only shared a tip of it, but as I said in subsequent videos, if you guys are interested, I'll tell you how I started up a business, how there was a lot of potential to make money, but I got scared. And I think that I got scared for a reason. When you know exactly what happened to me in my 9-to-5 crash. That's the third. The other thing that I'll say, that to make your 9-to-5 okay, is please just think that there is no price in suffering. That's been my mantra this year. You know, going through a tough year and getting older, I have learned that there's no price for suffering. There's no price for punishing yourself. There's no price for pain. And I have done that. And the more you do it, the more they take advantage of you. If you want to last in a 9-to-5 job for long, make sure that you treat it as such. It's not your baby. It's not your business that you've put in passion. It's somebody's business. So treat it as such. Give it your all, yes. But remember that there is no extra price for suffering. I had a few promotions here and there, but I did not have to suffer. What I had to do was to learn to work smart as opposed to working hard. Just hard. Just the word hard. Why? I feel like I'm in my soft girl era. I should not be working hard. I should be working smart. You know, since you work from home, you don't even know when it's morning. You start working at 7 on your bed. You're working till 10 p.m. That was me. But if you start realizing that when it's 5 o'clock, you shut down. The person who owns your company can work till 1 o'clock in the morning. It is their company. Don't kill yourself for somebody else. And another tip I'll share is, if you really want to stay in a 9-to-5 long term, don't be in a job for too long. You become complacent, and I'm an example. If you really want to make money to do your thing, remember that it is a stepping stone to where you want to get to. I read a book. I don't know if it's in my drawer. I read this book, The Race to the Top. I met some lady in a conference, and she was so impressed just my personality, and she said, "You've been in this job for so long, you're so knowledgeable, why have you not had a promotion?" And she got me thinking. That was about 3 years ago. And she said, "Go get this book, The Race to the Top." This book is a must read. I got it from Amazon, and it was written by Mr. Nazil Afzal, talking about it's just fighting structural racism in the workplace. And it's really, really intriguing. It opened my eyes, and I also realized that, forget this book, if you start working in a place for 2-3 years and you're stagnant, you can move and you will have a massive promotion. Sometimes you can move vertical, or is it lateral? I never know the difference. You can move sideways, let me make it easy, and that could propel your career. So don't stay in a job so comfortable if it's not yours. It's very common in the public sector. So just be aware that if you want to thrive, you might choose to keep it because it's giving you a work-life balance. That's my last point, is if you're a family person, like I am, a certain job, and I was open about this, that a job that was easy for me felt like a job for life. But in that place, you become trapped. You can only get free if you live modest and you keep some money for contingency, you pay into your pension, and you try to live life modestly and enjoy the other things that money cannot buy, like family time, work-life balance, stability, spending time with your kids. Then in that situation, I'll say, you know what? Fair enough. Keep your job and stay in this job. But if you are a young person wanting to grow very fast in your career, or even an older person whose kids has grown, make sure that you don't stay in a job for too long. And the bonus tip I'll share is, with work, always keep a trail of conversations or things said. Because if shit hit the roof, always keep an audit trail. When you're going for an interview to a job, don't look for a good job, guys. Look for a good company culture. Look for a job that when you walk in, you look around, you look at things in the office, look at how people are dressed. Is it very serious? And find out about the company's culture. Check on things like glass doors. That's where people share their hearts when they leave jobs. It's very honest reviews. And it'll tell you the culture, because I've seen that there's nothing like a bad job. There's everything like a bad manager, bad management, and bad culture. And the culture of any job is deeply rooted in the way people behave, interact, how you feel like either you're a slave, or how you feel overworked, how you don't feel like you're compensated right. That's what you should look for. When you see a company with a good culture, the job ultimately becomes a good job. And the last tip is a cheeky one. I feel bad saying, but I'm going to say it because you guys are my silent friends. I think I'm anonymous still. If your boss doesn't have kids, middle age, sometimes it's a woman. Be careful. I have secrets. And if after hearing all of this, you still think, no, I don't want to be in a corporate 9-to-5 life, then watch the video I'm going to post, which I'm going to share other very decent paying jobs that is not the traditional corporate 9-to-5. You work for somebody, but in a different setting, and it is a very, very vibrant economy people are not thinking about. So if you think that you still want to earn money from somebody but not work in a corporate environment, watch that video. If you've enjoyed this, you know what to do. Give us a like and consider maybe subscribing. Thanks for all of your messages, all the subscriptions, and when you subscribe, put your notification bell on. All right, thank you.